Hello and welcome. Today we're diving into a topic of immense significance and wonder, the miracles of the Quran. For billions of people, the Quran is not just a book, but a living miracle, a divine message preserved for all time. Let's explore some of the aspects that make it so extraordinary. First, let's talk about the linguistic miracle. The Quran was revealed in 7th century Arabia, a time when poetry and eloquence were at their peak. Yet, the Quran's language was, and still is, unparalleled. Its style is neither poetry nor prose, as they were known, but a unique, rhythmic, and powerful form of expression that captivated its listeners. Arab poets, masters of their craft, were unable to produce anything like it. In fact, the Quran issues a direct challenge, which still stands today, for anyone to produce a single chapter like it. This linguistic inimitability is considered by many to be its foremost miracle. Then there's the miracle of its preservation. The Quran is one of the most meticulously preserved texts in human history. From the moment it was revealed to the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, it was memorized by his companions and written down on various materials. Within a few decades, it was compiled into a single book format, the Mushaf. Today, millions of people, known as Hafiz, have memorized the entire Quran, word for word, letter for letter, from one end of the world to the other. This unbroken chain of memorization and written transmission ensures that the Quran we read today is identical to the one revealed over 1400 years ago. Beyond its literary and historical perfection, many point to the Quran's alignment with modern scientific discoveries. What's fascinating is that these statements were made centuries before the scientific tools existed to verify them. Let's look at embryology. The Quran describes the stages of human development in the womb with remarkable accuracy. It mentions the alaka, a term that can mean a leech-like, clinging thing, which accurately describes the appearance and behavior of the early embryo. It then details the progression through stages of flesh, bones, and the clothing of bones with flesh. These descriptions, found in chapters like Al-Mu'minun, correspond astonishingly well with what modern embryology has revealed only in the last century. The Quran also touches upon cosmology. In Surah Ad-Duriyat it says, "And the heaven we constructed with strength, and indeed, we are its expander." The concept of an expanding universe is a cornerstone of modern cosmology, first proposed and confirmed in the 20th century. How could a text from the 7th century contain such a profound cosmic truth long before telescopes like the Hubble were even imagined? Let's consider hydrology. The Quran mentions a barrier between two seas that meet but do not mix. It speaks of a barrier and a complete partition. We now understand this phenomenon as a result of differences in temperature, salinity, and density, which create a zone of separation, a water barrier where two bodies of water meet. This is observable in places like the Strait of Gibraltar. The Quran also describes the water cycle in detail, how water evaporates from the seas, forms clouds, is driven by winds, and then falls as rain to revive the dead earth. This was not the common understanding of the water cycle at the time. Geology is another area. The Quran describes mountains as being like pegs or stakes driven into the ground to stabilize the earth. The verse says, "Have we not made the earth a resting place, and the mountains as stakes?" Modern geology explains that mountains have deep roots that extend into the Earth's crust, contributing to its stability, much like a tent peg secures a tent. This analogy is both simple and scientifically profound. The Quran even mentions the origin of iron. In Surah Al-Hadid, meaning iron, it states, "We sent down iron, wherein is great military might and benefits for the people." The Arabic word used is anzalna, which means sent down. This is interesting because modern science tells us that the iron on Earth did not form here. The energy required to create iron atoms is immense, greater than the energy of our sun. Scientists believe that iron was formed in the hearts of massive ancient stars that exploded as supernovas, scattering iron across the universe, which eventually found its way to our planet during its formation. The Quran's choice of words "sent down" is strikingly consistent with this cosmic origin. Beyond the natural world, the Quran contains prophecies that have come to pass. One of the most famous is the prophecy of the Roman victory. In the early 7th century, the Byzantine Romans suffered a devastating defeat at the hands of the Persians. It seemed like their empire was on the brink of collapse. At this moment of Roman weakness, the Quran revealed the Romans have been defeated in the nearest land, but they, after their defeat, will be victorious. Within a few years, this was an audacious prediction. To everyone at the time, it seemed impossible. Yet, within a decade, the Byzantines staged a remarkable comeback and defeated the Persians, exactly as the Quran had foretold. The psychological impact of the Quran is another powerful aspect. For millions, its recitation brings a sense of profound peace and tranquility. The Quran itself says, unquestionably, by the remembrance of Allah do hearts find rest. This spiritual healing and guidance offer a roadmap for a balanced life, addressing human emotions, anxieties, and aspirations with deep wisdom. One of the most compelling logical arguments is the Quran's internal consistency, revealed over 23 years under varying circumstances in times of peace and war. Victory and defeat, joy and sorrow, the Quran remains perfectly consistent, with no contradictions. The Quran itself points this out. Then, do they not reflect upon the Quran? If it had been from any other than Allah, they would have found within it much contradiction. Any human author writing a book of this length and complexity over 2 decades would inevitably produce inconsistencies. Furthermore, the moral and legal systems outlined in the Quran are remarkably comprehensive and just. It establishes principles of justice, compassion, charity, and forgiveness. It lays down laws for marriage, divorce, inheritance, and finance that aim to create a stable and equitable society. It protects the rights of the poor, the orphan, and the traveler. These principles were revolutionary at the time and continue to be relevant today. The Quran's historical accuracy is also noteworthy. It speaks of past nations and prophets, like the story of Joseph or the Pharaoh of the Exodus. In many instances, details mentioned in the Quran have been corroborated by later archaeological and historical discoveries. For example, the Quran refers to the ruler of Egypt during Joseph's time as King Malik, and the ruler during Moses' time as Pharaoh Pharaon, a distinction that is historically accurate but was not widely known until the Rosetta Stone was deciphered. There are also fascinating numerical patterns within the text. Scholars have found intricate mathematical relationships and symmetries in the frequency of certain words. For example, the word for month Shah appears 12 times. The word for day Yom appears 365 times. The words man and woman appear an equal number of times. While interpretations vary, these patterns are seen by many as another layer of the Quran's miraculous nature, a hidden signature of its divine origin. At its core, the Quran champions human dignity. It teaches that every human being is honored by God, regardless of race, color, or status. It advocates for the protection of life, property, family, intellect, and faith. It was the Quran that, in a society where this was unheard of, abolished the practice of burying newborn girls and established rights for women. The Quran's message is universal, resonating with human nature or fitra. Its core tenets belief in one God, kindness, justice, and accountability are timeless and speak to the innate moral compass within each of us. It's a message not just for Arabs or for people of the 7th century, but for all of humanity, for all time. Finally, consider the transformation it inspired. The message of the Quran took a society divided by tribal warfare and ignorance and transformed it into a beacon of civilization that led the world in science, art, and ethics for centuries. This profound societal change, sparked by a single book, is perhaps one of its greatest and most tangible miracles. From its unique language and perfect preservation to its scientific insights, fulfilled prophecies, and transformative power, the Quran presents a multifaceted case for being a miracle. It invites us to read, to reflect, and to discover its depths for ourselves. It's not a book to be simply left on a shelf, but a living message waiting to be explored. Thank you for joining me on this brief journey through the wonders of the Quran. If you found this thought-provoking, please like, share, and subscribe for more content. See you in the next video.